everyone, welcome in to another tactics video here for FIFA 23. I'm Ash and this is the series where I show you how to replicate real systems in game. Today, here by popular demand, after winning a vote on Patreon, I have for you Thomas Frank's Brentford system. Really kind of fun team to analyse. They've done really well since getting promoted to the Premier League, of course, last season. This being their second season in the Prem, and they're just having a ball, really are having a ball. Been very impressive to watch, and as of time recording this, pushing for a European place. So before we do get into it, let me quickly tell you, if, as I've just said, you want to get onto my Patreon, do go and check out the links down below, because not only can you get access to votes that will decide on some of the content, you'll also get access to my tactics package, where I'll show you how this tactic and every other system I cover ranks and rates, and have suitable teams to play as and strengths and weaknesses, as well as exclusive tactics videos that are only on Patreon, fantasy football access, Discord server access, and a whole lot more. Also, go and check out my video games podcast. You'll find the link down below. If you want your video games fix, it's a great way to get that. Me and my pal Ash, also called Ash, of course, will be going through all sorts of topics on a weekly basis, so do go and check that one out. With that being said, let's talk about these systems. So we have here a 3-5-2. Now, last year I did actually cover their 4-3-3, and it's something that they have rotated between at times. So I thought this year it would be best to kind of go to the 3-back and have a look at that. That's one they predominantly use this year. They've occasionally kind of switched to that 4-3-3 for a couple of games, but generally it has been kind of the 3-back. And if you want to go and check out that 4-3-3 from last year, you can give that one a try as well. So in particular, we've gone for this 3-1-4-2 system, and you don't really need to change any kind of positions. The only thing is just to make sure that these guys, or Jensen in particular, are LCM and RCM as well. And with regards to kind of the wide midfielders, we'll have, of course, a wide midfield. You don't need to worry about them not being kind of players fullbacks, because what you'll find is the game does a really good job of noticing when you don't have fullbacks, and if you have these on comeback on defence, they will track back and help to form a back five at times. With regards to the tactical instructions, defensive style is pressure on heavy touch. They also implement a counter press at times, but not every time is something that I notice. Sometimes they kind of like to regain their shape immediately, and that's why I actually settled with pressure on heavy touch. If you do want to instigate a counter press, what you can do is, of course, use the teammate contain function, which is RB and A or R1 and X depending on your console, help you with the press, and also instigate the press function with the D-pad, which is down in the left. Not that effective, but can sometimes just help you out a little bit. The width is on 20. They like to make it very compact and force teams to kind of play out wide, even though they've got kind of 5 at the back at times when out of possession. They really still kind of decrease as much of that kind of space and limit it as much as possible. That's the right word. And so as a result, you really find teams get a bit of success playing on the edge and the outskirts and on the wide areas, but then kind of struggle when it does come to the central areas, because it is so packed out and they're very compact. The depth is on 60, giving you a nice mid block. Again, plays into that element of the balance between that kind of occasional press that they will instigate, but also making sure that they can regain their shape if and when they need to. They've also not got the fastest defenders, particularly on FIFA, which is a shame. Like Pinnock, for example, underrated pace, only got 67. You've got me, who's on 52. The only one with decent pace is really Christoph Ayer on 72. So that does kind of factor into that as well. Offensively, the build-up play is on slow build-up. That'll, of course, allow you to kind of play out from the back on goalkeeper restarts and through the thirds. And then the chance creation is forward runs, something they do so well. When it's the same with really all of these teams that you find overachieving in the Premier League, the likes of Brighton, the likes of Fulham this season, etc. These kind of teams have kind of lots of movement, high volume of movement, but also versatility in their runs. You'll get players kind of drifting out wide, etc., and kind of rotation within the middle of the park. And that's what Brentford do so well. We covered Brighton recently as well, and they do something a little bit similar. And it's kind of a similar kind of principle. The width is on 70 this time, giving you a very stretched shape. It is wide. It's going to get players into space. Does very well kind of complementing that forward run style, because ultimately it means you create more space, so more kind of gaps and areas for your team and players to run into. And then the players in the box is on 6. I've spoken about this recently. I'm working on a theory that this time having 6 doesn't mean you're just going to have 3 players in the box. It will just mean a certain amount, so it might be like between 4 and 5. That's a figure I'm still working on. So for this one in particular, we've gone for 6. And what you'll find is generally, obviously, the 2 forwards, one of the wing backs will usually get into the box, one of the central midfielders as well. So you might have roughly 4 players in there. Finally, with both corners and free kicks, both of these are on 4. Set pieces, they are superb on, but none of the set piece tactics actually work in FIFA, which is a real frustration. So as a result, it's been fairly tough to kind of replicate that. So it's just something you should probably acknowledge as well. Let's talk about the player instructions then, starting off with David Raya in goal, a fantasy football sensation this season. Got him in my team and he's been unreal. Comes for crosses and sweeper. Keeper, so one who likes to play on the front foot, very aggressive in the way that he likes to kind of really play as a goalkeeper with regard to his positioning and his running, etc. And then with the 3 centre-backs, absolutely no changes here. You don't need to make any changes to the player instructions. We'll go on to the wing backs next. Of course, we've got them as wide midfielders here. First things first, defensive support, come back on defence. As I said, that means that they will form that back 5 when out of possession, which is very, very important. That is something that the game does really well. And then chance creation for both of them with Henry and Ruslev here. We've got them on stay wide. These guys are going to create that width and be on the touchline. And then their support runs is getting behind, playing into that forward runs element that we spoke about earlier on. These guys, again, looking to penetrate the back line. You often find a lot of patterns of play in which they kind of execute lots of 1-2 passes with the kind of central midfielders. So Henry and Jensen, for example, have a lot of combinations, and it leads to Henry kind of getting in behind and Jensen then playing him through. That's something that's going to be very important to your build-up as well in the game. Finally, we support on crosses. Both of these are on getting to the box with a cross, but obviously it's worth bearing in mind that generally one of these guys will be the one crossing the ball in the first place. So then the one on the opposite side is then generally going to get into the box. With the central midfielders, we'll start off with Norgard at defensive midfield. Now again, these guys do rotate a little bit, but it's very tough to get that balance where you're leaving too much gaps in between the midfield and the defence. Otherwise I would have kind of set him as a central midfielder. So we've opted for defensive midfield here. His defensive behaviour is on cut passing lanes, and then his attacking support this time is on stay back while attacking. The way in which we're going to get his rotation and his movement is from this, the positioning freedom, which is on deep lying playmaker, and that's going to enable you not only to get that rotation and movement, but also to make it easier to play out from the back, as he will show for the ball more. Finally, his defensive position is cover centre, as the guys ahead of him are the ones who will be dragged out wide if and when they need to be. With the 2 central midfielders, some slightly differing roles. Starting off with Jensen, who's more of the industrial-like midfielder. His attacking support is unbalanced, as is his support on crosses as well. The reason why we've set it to this is that occasionally what you'll find is that he's the one usually instigating a lot of the kind of attacking play. So in that situation, he isn't going to obviously be getting into the box. But then sometimes, particularly when it's someone like De Silva who is kind of creating, then he will kind of make that move. So we've settled on balance there. Positioning freedom is on free roam. That's very important. He'll drift out wide. He'll come deep to show for the ball. He'll rotate with the other central midfielders and kind of exploit lots of space. He does a whole range of things. That is the most important element of this, and the way in which I found his role to be replicated most accurately. And then defensive position is on cover wing. With De Silva, on the other hand, a slightly differing role, someone who does get forward more. He is more of a goal threat, so his attacking support is on get forward, and his support and crosses is getting to the box with a cross. He is very much that out-and-out box-to-box midfielder, so that's something that we've tried to replicate with this kind of role. His defensive position is cover wing, and his positioning is stick to position. So with the front men, starting off with Brian and Burmo, of course, we've got the likes of Jan Wisser, who's also kind of played this role, Damsgaard occasionally as well. With here, you've got that kind of hybrid winger forward role, so we've got his support runs on drift wide, and then his attacking support on getting behind. Also, with regards to his defensive supports, he's on comeback on defence. They'll get him tracking back a lot, or the second striker, and it's only really Tony in this case, the one who does remain up front generally and acts more as that out ball. With Ivan Toney then, finally, the big man up top. His support runs are also on drift wide. You'll find both him and Burmo again talking about that volume of runs, but also the versatility in which they'll pick up lots of space, and these guys will come out wide when they need to support the kind of the fullbacks and the central midfielders who are kind of constructing a lot of their patterns of play in the wide areas. attacking runs is on mixed. You'll notice not only does he try and get in behind a lot, but sometimes he'll try and back into his opponent. They'll play a lot of direct balls into him sometimes, and it works to great effect. He's very strong, very good in the air as well, and he likes to just kind of physically impose himself on the opponent, the kind of man marker. So mixed attack was really the best way in which that we could kind of replicate this. And finally, his defensive support is on stay forward. So with that being said, we're just about ready to round it off there. If you have found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload a video. If you've got any questions about the system, then make sure to hit me up in the comment section, and as well, check out my Patreon if you want to see how this tactic ranks and rates compared to all of the other systems that I have covered on the channel, as well as a whole host of other perks. Check out my gaming podcast, the link to that is down below, as are the links to my Twitter and also the Reddit FIFA Tactics subreddit. Great one to check out, lots of tactics being shared on there from all of you guys. I've also got a tactic on there as well, so do go and check that out. And with that being said, we're going to round it off there. Thank you so much for watching. We're now going to go into some gameplay, and until the next one, I will see you soon.
return to your vehicle. You've left your lights on. Thank you.